we're going to take a look back at Sports Review Wrestling and all of its brother and sister offshoots from Sports Review. Was talking to a good friend of the channel, Jammers Wrestling Magazine Collection page. Of course, check him out for sure. He picks up where we kind of leave off, the specialist from the 90s, 2000s, and up for wrestling mags. But we were talking, and he had asked me, I know your favorites were The Wrestler and Inside Wrestling, but what about Sports Review? And I said, I love Sports Review. Honestly, it's like, I wouldn't say guilty pleasure, but I mean, it was a really good magazine that I don't really talk about much, that had some fantastic covers, especially in the early part of the 80s. They were great. I really liked Sports Review, and that led me to go back into looking at some of the ones from the 70s again after talking with Bill, and I was like, man, these were really good, and I haven't looked at some of those issues in probably 30 years, so it was really good to look back and see some of these. What I'm going to do is show you everything that offshoot from Sports Review, like the annuals, Sports Review made Superstars, picture book, stuff like that. So we're going to see all the Sports Review in kind of an order as best I can. We already have this filmed already in order. So if you're looking for a month by month, year by year Sports Review, check back in the channel for the other videos. We'll get you directly to that line beginning to end. These are going to be a little bit pulled. Part of the reason I pulled some is to have some content to talk about the apartment wrestling. Many of you had asked me, even pleaded at times, but coming up with a video for apartment wrestling was difficult. I mean, for one, what the hell am I going to say about it? It wasn't real, shocking as it might be. So there's no real people to talk about. But I kind of broke it off to a little section as we segue up through that part, and I'll show you the beginning, the end, and what was in the middle of apartment wrestling and how it got started and some of the issues. I can tell you that they were super expensive at one time, and someone was telling me they're creeping back up in price once again. So let's take a look at Stanley Weston's third publication in the London Publishing Company, TV Sports Publishing Company it was back then. The third publication that he started, Sports Review Wrestling. This is issue number 1, October of 1972, and it's an identical cover to an issue of The Wrestler in 1970. Exactly the same photo, same layout, same font. The only thing that's different is the color of the banner. I think it's like a lime colored or a yellowish color, if memory serves me right. But it's the exact same magazine. That's kind of weird because it's less than 2 years later and they're coming out with like a repeat of that other issue that's exactly the same. It's very strange for your first issue, but if you see this cover twice, that's the reason. There's a Wrestler from 1970. So, issue number 1, October 1972, Sports Review. Second issue, January 1973, and it's got John Tolos and the Sheik on the cover in a bloodbath of the century. Match taking place in Los Angeles Olympic Auditorium, and they would have some classic feuds. Sheik would shoot away from the Detroit territory and head out to the West Coast several times a year and have some different battles with Rivera, with Tolos, Blassie, so on. And this is souvenir issue, second issue, special TV stars issue. They put all this hype on there as a selling point. There's nothing souvenir really about it. It's just an issue number 2. And it does go back in and talk about some of the 60s matches. I believe Buddy Rogers and, if I'm certain, I can't find, Rocket and Rogers, which took place, many years before. Issue 2, souvenir issue, but it's just really a hype sticker, basically. Issue 3, is that right? No, I'm sorry, I pulled some. I'm saying, wow, we went to 84 already. Like I said, I pulled some for the apartments, so we'll catch up to them in order. This is the next issue just in this for this video, April of '84. Got a. This was also mentioned in the extreme hardcore, whatever the hell title I called it for video of matches. This is your first chair shot being done on the cover of a magazine. Joe LeDuc on the cover, getting that shot on top of the bloody head. Good looking shot there. But let me. Yeah, and you'll notice now. Apartment Wrestling here, just to take a note, because I'm not going to show every Apartment House issue. Apartment House is featured in every single issue from this point forward, just about. So maybe an issue or two might be missing a cover, but there's something inside definite. So from every issue of Sports Review and Sports Review Annual, once the annuals start in '76, that's the only places that you'll find the Apartment House Wrestling. You won't find them on Inside Wrestling on The Wrestler. Or maybe you will. We'll see when we get there. July '74, big issue of Andre the Giant, looking tall girl combing his hair and grooming him, standing on top of a chair. Great shot. And of course, to capture that even better, whoever took the photo cover dropped down to one knee and shot up at it to catch that even taller look of making him even look bigger than he really is. Really didn't need any help there, being 7'4", and good looking cover with Andre. November '74, Sports Review, another battle of the apartment ladies, again on the bottom, splitting it with a battle royal on the cover. This is a weird issue. I have another one of these two, but this is weird. It's out of focus. It's almost, I don't know if you can pick it up on the screen. It's like almost a double exposure, even on the apartment girls, and you see it clearly on his hands and face and stuff. It's kind of a weird print of that. I was like, man, I wonder, it's almost like the cheap 3D look. If you put those cheap 3D glasses on, would it pop out at you? And but it's not though. Just a weird exposure, but they let it go. Not all the magazines were like that, because I have, I think, 3 copies of this, and this is the only issue that had that weird double exposure to it. And usually Stanley wouldn't let something like that out. He was very particular with his photos and his covers, and I'm surprised that snuck past him. May '75, Bloodbath on the cover, and now you're getting Apartment now, getting a little more ballsy on the cover with the lovely Kanara. Kanara is the blonde here. She was the more popular of the apartment ladies. Everyone seemed to write in about her the most. Wonder where she is today. July 1975. Dino Bravo and Rivera. Good bloody shot here. Like every other magazine was in '75. That was like one of the best years for bloody covers, '75, '76. And Sports Review making no exception on that issue. Chic, Setting Fire, November 1975. Sports Review. Also the war with Don Leo and Andre at the bottom. Funk doing the leapfrog, and rare shot of excuse me, rare shot of Superstar here with black hair and the black beard, if that's coming in or not. Superstar Graham choking Ernie Ladd. Man, excuse me. And September of 1975. We can call this video a second attempt, because I think I made it right about this far in my video yesterday before the earthquake had hit here in New York and caused me to stop recording, and kind of scared the living shit out of me, because I'm just several miles away from a nuclear power plant. And when I heard my wife screaming, she's like, what the hell is that? And the house was shaking. I was like, whoa. So yeah, good thing that's over with. We even had another one hit last night around maybe 7 o'clock or so. That was another 4 point something. Unreal. Anyway, March '76, the Valiants on the cover. Beautiful Canara back in action. You'll see her used in a ton. The same shoot here is used several times throughout the decade of the 70s. That was a popular match apparently. But the Valiants get the main story, but the girls now are moving up quite a bit, taking up a lot of the cover. This is just my signed issue. You're going to find a bunch of my signed issues in here as well, because it was just easier than having to separate and move the piles. I didn't want to lose nothing or misplace anything, so I just left everything together. Superstar Graham and Bruno in May of 1976, before their big feud, and Superstar makes his way to the New York area now, about maybe 7 or 8 months into his run back and forth before the title shot with Bruno, or the title change rather with Bruno. January '75 was it when he first appeared in the actual territory before making the TV. Good looking magazine cover there. Always liked these, and I think, I'm not sure if I misplaced one. I thought there was one more before this one with Dusty and the Superman shirt, but I might, now that I think of it, I remember seeing it hanging on my wall. I'm not sure if I have that in here, sorry if I don't. July '76, shot a Superstar in all yellow, Ivan Putski. And these two would have a feud that would run the next 2.5, almost 3 years together in the WWF and in other arenas across the country. Another good shot of Andre. Notice again how they shoot him from bottom up and then looking up at him, making him look even bigger. They really did a good job capturing the Giant there in September 1976. Mila Mascaras on the cover. Superstar Graham with the rare trunks instead of the long tights, and he's in a headlock with Mil Mascaras, November 1976. Sports Review and the Apartment Girls starting to almost show some nudity here. It'd be quite becoming of the Apartment Girls. January 1977, Terry Funk on the cover, Bruno on the far corner shot, and for the most part, Sports Review had a three photo layout for their covers, and in the 80s it went to a 2 photo, meaning you'll see 3, and then in the 80s I liked it a lot better because it was one big one and one small one up top. I really like that main capture of the 80s style magazine of In Action. 3 sometimes is a little bit too much. 2 is, I think, just right. 1 sometimes isn't enough. I always liked a two shot cover. May 1977, and this is one of your bigger looks of apartment wrestling on the cover of the Sports Review, and it's really gaining popularity throughout the fan base for sure. Andre on the cover again with Ken Patera, June '77. Great shot. Superstar Billy Graham, August '77 with the full tie-dye in color. And trying to see who, Dick Slater with the Mr. Wrestling 2 at the bottom with a bloodied mask. Always enjoyed the look of 2 with the blood-stained mask. Of course, Destroyer would be well known for that. Superstar and Chief Jay Strongbow. Rare match of Bob Backlund in the AWA taking on Billy Robinson. Also having a match, I believe, with Vern Gagne and a few guys before making his WWF run and taking the title from Superstar. After leaving Missouri, he made a little venture throughout the AWA. Made his stay in the next 7 years in the WWF, and then back to Vern Gagne in Pro Wrestling USA in '85. Oh, here it is. This. Okay, I thought I had this one. I have another copy. It's signed by Ken Patera and Putski, so I thought that was on my shelf. But this, I forgot. I do have two copies of this issue. Dusty with the yellow Superman shirt, a little bit different. Roddy Piper used to wear one with the red, and of course the real color is blue. It's kind of weird, different look though. Looks good on Dusty, especially in the '70s with the hat and the boots, looking pretty cool. Looking January 1978 Sports Review. Another shot at Dusty. And I believe this is in Madison Square Garden for a match with Superstar, and February 1978. Andre taking on Flair and Greg Valentine, when those two were former partners, former tag team champions, two great wrestlers, great bloody feud in the late 70s, early 80s with those two. Dusty Rhodes back on the cover, Mule taking on Stan the Man Stasiak, April 1978 Sports Review. Fantastic cover. The most important match of our time, Superstar, Billy Graham, WWF Heavyweight Champion, Harley Race, World's Heavyweight Champion. And what a great looking magazine cover for two champions to compete in the Super Bowl of wrestling, title versus title in Florida, so soon to come. Always thought this was like one of the sharpest looking covers, and brought to you by Sports Review, and of course from my signed collection, that is. Ricky Steamboat, United States Heavyweight Champion, U.S. Champion, called either one, June 78, and Backlund taking on Ken Patera. Talking about Backlund, the making of a champion. Backlund and Patera would have some great wars, especially in the 1980 time frame. Had some great matches in the Garden. Bob Backlund, new WWF Heavyweight Champion, defends his title for the first time against world champion Harley Race. Backlund's first title defense, they forced me to wrestle Harley Race. Shortly before Backlund coming to the becoming the World Wrestling Federation champion, he would be the Missouri champion, and we discuss that in another video with the program involved with the title change and Backlund winning the Missouri title. Now up in the Northeast as champion, taking the place who just lost the title, Superstar Billy. This was going to be a return match from the Super Bowl of wrestling, and Superstar lost the title, unfortunately. Next person to step up to fill the shoes was Backlund, and not a whole lot of talk about this match. Not a whole lot was discussed in the magazines. This is your only cover that you'll see. They will meet again in 1980. They'll meet a few more times, but the cover of the magazines cover it again in 1980 and July of 78. And this is also my signed issue, Bob and Harley both. Andre the Giant, Mr. Fuji, kind of a mismatch there. And August 1978 Sports Review. Another Andre. Greg Valentine now is the Mid-Atlantic Heavyweight Champion. September 1978. Backlund and Patera feud continue. 1978 now, Bob as champion. And Apartment House Girls continuing on in the far corner. Spiros Arion challenging Backlund for the Worldwide Wrestling Federation Championship, November 1978. And who could it be with the mask? Could it be Dusty? The Spoiler making his first big cover, main cover. Actually, it's probably his first cover at all. December of 78 with the Claw on Dusty Rhodes down in Florida. Or this could be Houston, not sure. One of you guys, I'm sure, will tell me. December 78, Backlund on the bottom takes on George the Animal. Ivan Koloff, next competitor to step up to challenge Backlund for the title, January 1979. Good looking shot of the Russian Bear and Backlund. February 79, Backlund and Koloff again in the corner. Blackjack Mulligan and Greg Valentine. Andre once again with Harley Race. Now, these guys had a lot of matches together. I was really surprised to see how many times Andre wrestled Race for the NWA title. It was a lot because they were on several magazines together, a lot of Japanese coverage these two as well, in like a lot smaller arenas. They were pretty cool pictures of them, and they look like they were in some kind of like a soft tent with a soft roof. Not sure where that is. I've seen a few magazines cover wrestling in that same place. April 1979, Superstar and Putski continuing their feud that was formed in 76 and continuing on now. Superstar long lost the world title and about to disappear for a few years shortly in 1980. May of 79, Superstar and Andre the Giant, Bloody Flair and Steamboat battle for the U.S. title in the Mid-Atlantic territory. Nick Bockwinkel, AWA champion, world champion on the cover. June 79, Dusty continuing his battles in a cowbell match, bull rope match, call it whatever, with Mark Lewin, probably in Florida. Could be Texas, could be anywhere. Too bad this didn't make a front big cover, Blackjack in a cage with Flair. Both of them an extreme bloody mess. I've seen some pictures in the Japanese magazines, and there were some great looking photos. I just wish we had a cover of that instead. Again, we got Andre and Harley in many of their battles together. Bruno making a resurgence in August 79's issue. Since losing the title, we didn't see him very much on the cover, and he's back with Ivan Koloff in 79. Chief Wahoo and Flair, and now we're kind of looking at some bigger pictures. If you look at the last couple, starting to dominate the front and the smaller shot, which will be this kind of a look in the 80s, but we're getting a sample of it here in late 79. Dusty posing on the cover, spoiler, with Wahoo McDaniel, October 79. Now, these are my kind of style photo covers, just the front page within the ring, referee in the background. The arena shot sometimes lit up in the back is great. What I never liked was the like an orange background that doesn't fit, or red background that just blanks it out. Always loved that that moment captured in time, encapsulated forever on a cover of a magazine. That particular shot, that fleety shot that was just there for one split iota of a second, is now captured and saved there forever of that match, and you get to see that in all its glory. And what a great close-up shot that is of Greg Valentine and Chief. Just a great shot, and probably I like that more than posed covers because the magazines were black and white, and at this time period when I'm 10, 11 years old in 79, 80, we didn't see these guys in color. So they weren't on our television. There was no internet. The only time you've seen a color shot of a wrestler was on a cover of a magazine. They weren't even given pinups yet. The magazines were all black and white. So we have no idea what these dudes even looked like. So this is some of us, our first time actually seeing them bright and in color. So it's captivating. It draws your attention right to it. It's like, this is that match, because I'm a wrestling fan and I like the matches, and this is the match that's captured, and this is my only look at it. So I have to use my imagination of how the match went, just judging by the action shot. So this was the closest thing to seeing these guys of what they actually looked like until like 85 when cable came out. By then, most of the 70s guys were gone. So you only look at these dudes were right here on the cover. So that's why I think I like the in-action shots so much more than just, to me, like a lazy posed cover. January 1980 now, moving up into 80 for Sports Review. I'm going to keep this to just the 70s. I'm not showing every issue of Sports Review. I just thought I would show some of the 70s issues and some of the spin-offs. So we're going to end Sports Review in 1980. I'm just going to go through the rest of this year that I have here, and then we're going to get on to the next piece of this. February of 80, Funk and Dusty Rhodes in a great battle that they would have throughout from the early to mid 70s up to 2000 that I know of, because I seen them in Philly at the Electric Factory when they wrestled for a company called 3PW, not ECW, like 3PW, like the number 3 with PW. That was Todd Gordon's attempt of reliving the ECW once it had folded. They did decent. They had decent people, and they had decent cards that just didn't stick around for very long. But they brought back the key to the formula is to bring back some of your old timers and your legends and mix it with new guys, and that's a formula that still works today, and it's what brings people into a new company. February 1980, Funk and Dusty. Tommy Wildfire Rich makes the cover of March 80. He's soon to explode in Georgia and Tennessee guy, taking off in popularity very shortly. 80, 81, he would be the most popular. And Ricky Steamboat chair shot into the throat of Harley Race for the title shot. Mulligan taking on Big John Studd. I have a TV, not of that match, of course, but I forget. It was an NWA territory. It's got I can't remember the name. It's something simple too, like NWA Championship Wrestling. It was from. It's escaping me. Les Thatcher was the announcer. He was looking like Wolfman Jack. Help me out, people who live down there. You would think it was like, I want to say Georgia, but I don't think I'm right. I thought it was, could it be Alabama? I don't know. It's great TV, and it's a small studio like in Memphis. A little bit kind of more like Georgia, but not quite. It was very similar. That was some great TV. I have maybe 3 discs, maybe with 6 or 8 shows from that with Les Thatcher, like I said, announcing. Man, I would love to have more of that. And this feud was pretty cool. Barry Windham was there as Blackjack Mulligan Jr., so I'm going to put it at like 82 time frame, somewhere around there. If anyone knows where I can get any of that on DVD, please send me a link or tell me where to find it, because I definitely would spend money on finding that again. That was some great stuff. I really enjoyed it anyway. June 1980, Superstar Billy Graham taking on Mark Lewin here in Texas. Graham about to disappear. His hair is cut short. He's got the beard. He may go to Memphis right after this, or it already just happened. I'm not sure the time frame here. And he will take the title, Continental title, which was trying to become a world title at the time. And then he would disappear for the strongman competitions, and shaved head and stuff would come back later. So this is one of your last looks. There is one more view of him in 80 with Bruno we're going to see, but this is your last look of him with hair on the cover. 2 of them. Up here, I didn't think it was this close. Superstar taking on Bruno Sammartino, and a real rare looking shot here, rare match. In Texas, in Houston, and Graham here soon. He was ballooned up pretty big here. If you ever seen the competition of the Strongman in 1980, he was gigantic, about 320. Muscle, but fat too. I guess he just needed that weight, He was enormous. Again, shooting up, so this makes look like Superstar looks like he's 8 foot tall here. He was 6'4" or so, something like that, 6'3", 6'4". But man, he just looks like he towers over Bruno here in this shot. If you had to look twice, you wouldn't know it was him, because now you're seeing him for the first time with a shaved head and a beard. It's like, who is this dude? That's not Superstar. 2 of them. August 1980, and it's got an early look. Hulk Hogan. He made his first appearance on the cover of a magazine for, I think it was Wrestling Review, and this was his first sports review in 80, coming out and up north for his first run. Samoans, World Wrestling Federation Tag Team Champions with Captain Lou. Good looking cover of the champs here. As we round out the year of 80, October, getting up there, Tito Santana taking on the Hulk. November 80, Tommy Rich. Good looking shot of the Wildfire, and finishing it off, Andre and Hogan. I believe this is the Shea Stadium match. It's dark in the background. I'm pretty sure it is. a feud that needs no introduction to later on. We all know what goes on between those two, and it's a great feud, a battle of the big men. Hogan, of course, slamming Andre on TV shortly before this. And this is the final issue we're going to look at with Sports Review. We're going to look at now their annuals, which was like their second shoot off. They had one more. We'll catch up to those a little bit later on in the Superstars section. But this is issue number 1, minus the 4x6 autograph photo of Ernie Ladd. I don't have any magazines signed by Ernie, but good friend Bud Carson had let me have, not let me have, I bought it, but he gave it up because he didn't want to in the beginning, this photo of Ladd with the America's title from Los Angeles territory. So it's the closest thing I could get to Ernie with a belt shot signed on a cover, and great looking shot of the king, Ernie Ladd, the big cat, Ernie Ladd. Again, look at Andre getting shot upward and making him look way taller than he really is. Like, not that he needed it, but Ox is no midget, and he's looking mighty small here. One of the few shots of Ox Baker, another guy who was snubbed, big name in wrestling, independently, smaller territories. Most wrestling fans knew him, but snubbed by the magazines terribly. He was a big, fierce-looking presence and mean-looking face. You'd figure, that would be on a lot more covers, and just really wasn't. Good-looking shot there. Another one of my magazines that I like a lot. Annual number 3, Sports Review. These are not to be confused with the Victory Sports annuals and yearbooks. They were a different, same publisher, same company, just a different publication. This is Sports Review's annual, and the other ones were Victory Sports annual. Bruno and Koloff on the cover. Superstar or Super Bum, a recycled story in 76, which originally I think ran in 74 on this annual here. Good looking shot though of the Superstar. Don't know about this magazine. I just know it took me a really long time to find it. I'm talking like years from what I remember, because I bought it a long time ago, but I just remember not being able to find this for the life of me. Nobody had it. I think I had to bribe somebody to sell it to me. There's probably 15 of them now online, but just at that one time for several years, it's funny how that works. You need something, you can't find it, and then when you find it after years, all of a sudden the market's loaded with them, and they're on every other page for $6. But Andre and the Indians on the cover, Spring 77. That's White Wolf and Chief Jay. Dusty on the cover, Harley battling Steamboat, the number 1 contender for the NWA title on Annual 78. Now remember, Sports Review, it's like annual. Every other issue would have ladies wrestling. So not all of them. It seemed to be every other month. So these were the only 2 publications that carried the Apartment Girls. Backlund winning the World Wrestling Federation title, 78 annual. Twice. Superstar taking on Harley in the Super Bowl of wrestling in Florida. This was signed by Bob, Superstar, Harley, and it's dark blue by Mil Mascaras here at the bottom. Good looking shot of Superstar. I remember this was one of the ones that I sent away for and couldn't wait to get. Not the greatest looking cover. Dusty Rhodes, real close up with the hat. And spring of 1979 annual. Backlund also taking the title on the small shot. Backlund on the cover again. Summer 1979. Wanted someone to defeat Bob Backlund in November 1979. Again, signed copy. Trying to get this glare. I know it sucks. Mil Mascaras, February 1980 Sports Review Annual. Dusty and Harley, Spring 80 Sports Review Annual. Tanaka taking on Bob for the title, Summer 1980. good matches here now. Again, like I was saying earlier with Patera and a bloodied Backlund, they were going to have a couple return matches in the Garden, one being a Texas Death. Okay, so that's Sports Review, and that's Sports Review Annual, complete to 1980. Some of the missing issues that were in there are in here. We're going to discuss Apartment Wrestling as it rears its ugly head for the very first time. So I guess it's certainly not rearing its head, it's already been out. But for the first time on any magazine cover ever, May of 71's issue of The Wrestler, of all magazines first. This was the first time it is mentioned and brought to you on the cover of a magazine. Because remember, this is 71 and Sports Review wasn't out yet. It didn't come out until 72. And up until this point, it was just a couple of photos that Theo Ehret had taken. Theo was the photographer for the, worked for London Publishing, Stanley Weston, but he was located out west. So he did all the shows in San Francisco, from San Francisco to Portland, Seattle, down to even throughout Mexico, parts of Mexico, but in Los Angeles. So he was based in the Los Angeles territory, and he shot the boxing matches, the wrestling, the roller derby, and all things sport related in between on the West Coast. He Bill Apter explained it, and I went a little bit deeper in depth with him when I was speaking to him about it, and it wasn't a popular thing with the wrestlers. They really didn't like it because it would become pretty exposing, and you'll see as we go on. But the first issue, May 71, The Wrestler, believe it or not, was the first one. It wasn't Sports Review, and this is considered action sports. You notice the top? I can't get that in there. Action Sports. It's not Victory Sports. It's not TV Sports. It's not London Publishing. It was first called Action Sports, owned by Stanley Weston. That would change in early 72. So issue number 1, Sports Review, and issue number 3 actually of Sports Review. They decided to do a trial and see how Apartment Wrestling would sell on the new magazine, because the first couple of issues didn't sell very well. Stanley Weston said, we're going to give it a try. Theo sent us some shots of Apartment Girl wrestling, and when this issue hit, it really pissed a lot of people off, and it pissed a lot of promoters off, to the point where they didn't even want to let Bill Apter in the back room anymore to talk to the wrestlers, interview them, or even take photos, because of the sensationalism and the exposure that they were doing here for the wrestling business. And it rightfully so. I mean, it looks fake. She's got obviously makeup or ketchup on her face for blood. I mean, it doesn't even look legit. And she's laying on some linoleum floor, biting a chick in the face. Nothing looks more phony than that shot there, even for its time. So I can understand how the wrestlers got annoyed. That being said, the sales went off the charts, and the magazine sold 3-1 in comparison to the other issues. So Stanley said, I don't care who likes it, who doesn't like it, rather. It's going to stay for a while as long as it continues to sell magazines. So they left it exclusively on Sports Review and left it off of the other titles. And this was your first look at Apartment Wrestling as it began to be a monthly thing for Sports Review magazine. Issue number 3. Skip ahead a couple of years, not very far, just 2 or so. 2, January 75, and Sports Review. Now it's come a long way, and now people have noticed the lovely Kanara, and she gets most of the page here. So it was a big difference from just a couple small shots you've seen earlier. It really started to take off. This, for some reason, seems really thick. There's something else back here. I just don't know what it is. Okay. There's 2 of them here. I don't know why I did that, actually. You know what? While it's here, this is kind of funny. This was crowning the very first Apartment House Ladies Champion. Hold on, let me get the page. If you can imagine that, a ladies apartment champion. Kanara here would become the first apartment house world champion. Could you call it that? I wouldn't say world champion, but it crowned the first champion, and all that is covered in this issue here of the champion. So she was the most popular. People wrote in about her the most. That people were, asking for more photos of her and blah blah blah. Whether that was her real name or not, who knows? So you can see now the popularity of it. So much so, Stanley put Kanara on the cover of Inside Wrestling for the first time. It appears on Inside Wrestling, August of 1975. Skipping ahead just about 8 months or so throughout the year of 75. And it has really taken off to the point where it's, you're seeing it now on the Stanley's major guns, his big sellers that outsold every other magazine 4-1 basically. Good looking shot of the ladies dominating the cover and putting the main wrestlers aside here, and the girls get the full feature. And that would become quite a big thing too in like 77 or so. You'd see a lot more. We're going to take a look at that now. Sports Review 76. Again, Kanara on the cover and splitting the page with the world champion Bruno here. That's saying something, that putting, sensationalism and fake wrestling over a professional athlete. And I consider wrestlers professional athletes for sure. Anyone who's paid is considered a professional. You could be, whatever to be professional doesn't really mean. It does. I'm saying, you know where I'm going with that. January 76, they're splitting it front page with Apartment House. It's starting to take, it's more than taken off. It's there, whether you like it or not. So much so, they had their very first all Apartment House Battling Girl magazine. This would go on for 4 special issues throughout the year of 76 and 77, even one up in like 1979 and 80. Just four all-girl issues. They at one time you couldn't even touch half the magazines like this with Apartment House girls. They would sell like lightning. These were ridiculous. I'm going back 20 years ago when I first saw these on eBay, even longer, 25 years ago. These were selling hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and people were gladly buying them. The bid wars that went on with these was absolutely mind-blowing. I'm like, people are spending that to the point where I considered selling mine. I never bought these in time. These were given to me by my uncle. So these were his, and they were just handed down to me. That's how I have them. I never sent away for them because there's no way I can tell my mother, send me $5 so I can mail away for this, because that wasn't going to happen when I'm 8 years old. But these were going for crazy money. I don't know anymore. I haven't looked. I haven't checked, but they probably still command a lot of money today. This was issue number 2, and this was spring of 1976. Again, Kanara on the cover. She's on the cover of both. She's your ladies champion after all, right? So I guess you're going to see a lot of her. I believe, yep, this is number 3, and this would be the final all-girl battling issue for a couple years. This was also, again, mail away. I'm lying if I say the price, but between, $3 and $5, something like that. That's a lot when the magazines are 75 cents or $1. So that was quite a bit of a jump up. But the drawing to this was they were all nude. Now, most of them are. There's a lot of pages inside that aren't. Like, I'm going through the very first issue here, and I'm flipping through it. I'm like, wait a second, they're not naked. And the ones that they have a bar across their chest, so you can't see anything. And we're like, what the hell? But as you go further in the magazine, then they're fully naked. So it does happen. It's, I guess, a little bit of a teaser till you get to the middle and end of the magazine. But there is some edited parts to it, too. And this was issue number 3. This is the third one that came out in May of 76. And 79 and 80 would be the final one. And the catch for this one was in color. And it's not in full color, but there is a color poster inside. This was signed. This is the adult film star Seika, and I had her sign the copy of that for me, and I had asked her about the magazine because everyone's pretty much bringing her, porno magazines and whatnot, and here I am with a wrestling magazine. She's probably thinking something's wrong with me. I said, what can you tell me about, this? And she's like, I didn't even know I was on it. I don't even remember it. I'm like, oh, Jesus. So she goes, I can tell you one thing. Whoever paid for it paid a lot because they had to go through my my manager, and it was not cheap, especially in like the 1980 time frame, because I was pretty much not doing photo shoots often. If it was usually for Club magazine, for the guys who know the adult magazine Club. That was a pretty good 80s magazine, 70s magazine, adult magazine. But she said, and she's not naked in this, so she is clothed. I mean, I can't open it. If you want to see the poster, why not, right? Because most people have never actually even seen inside this thing, so it might be a deciding factor if you want to buy it or not. So you can see they are clothed. They are in black and white, but so you're not really seeing nothing that you haven't already seen in the other magazines. So don't get fooled. It's not 100% naked, but the centerfold's pretty cool if you're a Panara fan. And it's her here in a match if you like two hot-looking girls. And you can see her kind of topless here. I don't know if I'm going to get an X rating from YouTube with their bullshit, so I better not show too much. But even Seika is here, and she's not naked either. So, and they're not even calling her Seika; they're calling her Cynthia, which is retarded. But just try to see if there's anything else. But yeah, so the rest of it is covered up. So there's not a whole lot of nudity in here. A little bit. The black and white ones had a lot more. There's a couple of color photos in there, but is it worth that kind of money? I mean, if you're a collector and you need it and you got to have it, I guess. But geez, I can't imagine, someone paying $50 for that. That's kind of crazy. Didn't even cost that to get the thing signed. Actually, she didn't even want to charge me for it because I got something else signed from her. So anyway, that's it for the Apartment Girls. For strictly all girls, just the magazine solo by themselves, the mailaways, I should say. Okay, it would continue on Sports Review. So we're digressing a bit. Back to July '77. Now this is your first issue of Sports Review with the girls dominating the cover over the wrestlers, over Dusty Rhodes and Mil Mascaras, two of the biggest names and the biggest sellers in the magazine market. You put Dusty or Mil on the cover, Graham and Bruno, that magazine was sold. Now you have these two unknown girls in a bikini outshining those two. That's saying something. That's saying something big. And these also, even though they're not all apartment house girls, they cover the dominant cover. There's like 4 of these, and they sell for big money. You couldn't even touch these before. There was just, the money was ridiculous. Like I said, I'm not sure if it still is. This one also, I mean, take a look. The girls get the feature. The guys are not even in color. They're in black and white. I mean, wow. Girls are really taking over the covers. September '77, another issue. Another 2 girls who don't normally see it, don't know who they are. And now the annual, taking the full cover of fall '77. Again, Superstar Graham, Bruno, Koloff and Bruno and Stasiak in black and white. The girls get the full color. Wow, that's something. Fall '77, October '77, another one, full cover on Sports Review. November '77, Andre and Brody. Would have loved for that to have made it to a full cover, or certainly would have rather had it over this, although this isn't a bad cover either. This, I think, is your last issue for them dominating the cover in the 3 photo shoot covers for Sports Review, November 1977. And we're going to skip back ahead again through the 80s now. It would continue to run as we showed Sports Review. Girls would be in a small corner here. Guys would get the main shot. They would no longer dominate. They would no longer have anything more than a 2x3 photo here for the next several years, 4 years or 3 years or so, like this. This is your final issue with the Apartment Girls on the cover. So it ended finally on July of 1983. It was just about a 10-year run, maybe a little 10.5-year run of Apartment Girls. And it was there to stay. It was there to stay for a long time. Finally fizzled out. It wasn't just a fad. It was there for, it lasted a long time considering. Your final issue on the annuals was fall of '83. And actually the actual annual itself ends in '84. So this magazine's almost ready to be finished as well. But Apartment Girls, last issue, fall '83 Sports Review, Tony Atlas and Flair. Now, if you wanted to get more Apartment Girl wrestling, as well as some great looking shots from the Olympic Auditorium, I was telling you about Theo Ehret, and he was the photographer. He wrote a book called Exquisite Mayhem. And this book is almost 2 inches thick. It's an encyclopedia of nothing but photos from the Olympic and also the Apartment Girls. Some of the best photos you'd ever see. I mean, clear and perfect and great looking in-action shots as well as posed shots of everything happening from Theo throughout the 70s. As well, here's different Seika photos. There's several of her in here. And there's also a ton of the nude photos that were never published in the magazines. Some were absolutely ridiculous, as you can see, and some were really good action shots from what featured in the magazine. Most of these were unpublished. Several of them were. Here's a great looking shot of a cage match when it was a wire fence in the Olympic, and you get the idea here. There was a couple of good shots of the Sheik bloody. There's a couple of good shots of Morocco bloody. Shot of the Sheik. Never seen one of that like that before either. Great looking photos. Here's a good bloody shot. So if you could find this book, I'm not sure how expensive it is or if it's really expensive. Here's a good looking shot of the arena, which was like a half of an arena and the other half was a stage. Concert hall looked like here. How they had it set up, and good looking shots of the fans in the arena, good looking, and a lot of really good close-ups. So like I said, this is just a thumbnail look at what this book really is. Exquisite Mayhem, and very, very good photos of some great matches inside, from classic stuff from the Olympic Auditorium. I highly recommend that if you're a fan of either Apartment House and don't want to see the censored photos. It's all in there. I got that on Amazon when it first came out. Like I said, I'm not sure if it's still around, if it's aftermarket, if it's expensive or not, but it was worth the, I don't know, $20, whatever it was, $18, something like that. So Sports Review Wrestling had a offshoot, and it was called Superstars, and they decided to give it a try. This is your first look, first cover, first magazine of Wrestling Superstars, and it was summer of 1975. And I didn't realize we're 55 minutes into this. So I'll pick up the pace a little bit so I don't put you guys to sleep. Sports Review issue number 2. I'm sorry, yes, Superstars issue number 2. Winter of 76. There was one issue in 75, one issue in 76, and then it would become a mainstay in 77. Even so, it wasn't every month. It was like quarterly still before it went to more, I think 6 times a year. July 77 with Bruno on the cover. August 77. It skips a few months from August till October 77. Great looking shot of Superstar here with the belt posing with the title. 2 of them. Another great looking shot of the Super Bowl of wrestling, Race versus Superstar Graham. Dusty taking a chunk out of King Curtis Alkea's head, Mil Mascaras, April 1978. June 78, Superstar Graham and Larry Zbyszko making his early cover for one of his first, actually, as a wrestler. And fall 78, wrestling Bob Backlund, and it was confirmed by Bill Apter, who I raised the question before. This is Ken Lucas, his opponent, and all of us were wrong trying to guess out who that was, and never really thought to ask him. So I was like, it's finally like, why don't I ask Bill? He would probably know in a heartbeat. Oh yeah, it's Ken Lucas. Oh, there it is. I made a comment in the video about that, so it answered a few of the questions from the Superstars video that we did. Winter 78, Dusty on the cover with the cowbell in the head. Dusty again with that big $1 million smile, so famous for. Ricky Steamboat on the cover, October 1979, as the U.S. champion. Great looking shot of Steamboat. Mil Mascaras, 1980, January Superstars. And we're going to end it at 80, so we'll just go through the next four. I believe it's just four more. Ivan Putski, Ken Patera. 81 Superstars. Didn't mean to show 81. Well, this is the issue with all the cards in it. Fall of 1980 Superstars. Bruno Sammartino on the cover looking back at his 10 toughest matches. Winter 1980. And I think that is the last issue that we're showing for Superstars. And that continued to run all the way up through the 90s. It was pretty much a mainstay. I don't know if it went every month. It went 6 times a year early, and then it went to 4, and it may have stayed at 4. I'm not quite, I don't really remember. I guess I could answer my own question by watching my own Superstars video. Speaking of Superstar Graham, early shot of him on issue number 1, Wrestling Picture Book, as the Texas Bare Knuckles champion, and there he is with a Bare Knuckle championship belt around his waist. And picture book was just that. It was just photos of your favorite wrestlers in action and posed, and good looking shot of Ernie Ladd with the WWA Tag Team Championship belt. Bruno right there in 76, and I could tell by his hair. And 75, yeah, he got that hair. He changed his hairstyle. He wore that wig later on, which was horrible. Looked like a rat's nest, honestly. As much as a fan I am of Bruno's, I hated that look in like 79, 80. And Mascaras right there posing behind the paneling. Fabulous Moolah gets a cover in the second issue, and this was in spring of 1976. Moolah taking on whoever she's taking on, I can't really tell. Andre looking tall, but he's with 2 midgets here. Bruno again, the same photo shoot as the earlier shot. Issue number 3, summer 76, and Superstar Graham makes his way up to the Garden to challenge Bruno in 75, 76. Picture book, fall 76. This would run a pretty good while. This is one of the best covers they did. One of the better ones early on, I should say. Winter 76. Got it signed by Bruno and Mil. This was one of probably my favorite picture book cover of Mascaras. It's such a great looking shot. Captured the 70s feel to that perfectly with the masked wrestler and the arm lock. Always liked that cover. Totally hate covers like this. It's just a collage of shit thrown together, and was quite becoming of your late 80s and 90s throughout today's magazines. Just never appealed to me. It just looks like a mess. But for a picture book, I get it. You're just making a scrapbook or a collage. That's okay. Same with this. Collector's souvenir, 200 thrilling photos inside. Wrestling picture book. Again, with the collage of wrestlers. These are all repeated photos from covers of the past. Every one of these you'll see were a former cover that at one time or another from Stanley's magazine covers. Picture book 77, one of your last shots, a Superstar with the title on the covers. Spring 78, taking on Tony Garea, and I believe this match took place in the Sheik's Detroit territory when the WWF was doing some shows with the Sheik in Detroit at Cobo. Backlund would also go down there. We cover a lot of that information in other videos. Backlund, a career in pictures. He's here with Billy Robinson when his AWA run, Spring 78. Dusty and Graham continue their Florida feud throughout New York and abroad, the East Coast, I'm sure everywhere else. Fall 78, good looking shot of Mascaras, also Bruiser Brody and Andre. I wish that was a full cover. Pretty cool looking in action photo, drop kicked. Mascaras is drop kicking Ken Patera and Mr. Wrestling 2 on the cover. Picture book Spring 79, repeated story of when Superstar won the Worldwide Wrestling Federation Championship. Dusty Rhodes challenging for the AWA title in Picture book 79, taking on Nick Bockwinkel. Dusty and Ivan Koloff, January 1980, and this, I think this ends in 1980. This is second to last issue. Yeah, this I think is the second to third issue or so. Spring 80, Dusty Rhodes wins the title in 79, getting raised up high. And this is the final issue, summer of 1980. And David Von Erich takes on Harley Race in the Slaughter in St. Louis. Also, brother Kevin wins the title from Dick Murdoch in the Missouri title that night here on this cover. And that's your final issue of Picture Book. Wrestling Sports Review had its other final publication, which was Greatest Battles. It was only around for a couple of years, and it wasn't a bunch of repeated stories either. It was covering the big feuds at the time, and also did some past feuds as well. Pretty decent magazine. I kind of liked it for what it was. And here's that soft-looking tent I was talking about before with Race taking on Andre, and it's right here with Jack and Funk here. Their banner sometimes was like red and white, and there was ones that were like an orangish red, and then there was another one that was blue. They had a soft cover tent somewhere. I always wonder where the hell that was. I don't know. April 78, issue number 1 for Greatest Battles. Greatest Battles with a collage. This is a repeated photo. All these are repeated photos from former covers, just like the picture book was. Fall 77 and Superstar with Tony Garea, again with their match in Detroit. Strap match for the Florida title, Superstar taking on Dusty, and winner of 77. We discussed these matches a lot in the Florida video or the Rise of Dusty, one of the two. They had a great feud that started in Florida. Superstar and Putski continuing their feud, spring of 1978. Andre gets the cover, summer of 1988. Good looking shot. I like the font. It's just, telling of the time period, the 70s look, like things jumping straight out at you and bold and bright. I just thought that was a cool look. Different for sure. Fall 78. Mascaras on winter 1978. Also the Sheik, Mark Lewin. Spring 79. Andre bloodied up on the cover. Nick Bockwinkel on the bottom. Superstar taking on Mascaras, almost getting the mask off of him in summer of 1979. Superstar long was way into the disappearing at that point. And final issue, November 1979, and it's got Wrestling 2 taking on Terry Funk, and this was your final and last Sports Reviews battle, Greatest Battles. And that's it, man. We covered everything related sports review. I did my best that I could to give you a presentation of some Apartment Girls. It just, trying to make a video of just Apartment Girls. Well, for one, I don't really care how many people watch these videos. I'm not here for popularity. I don't give a shit if you subscribe or you thumbs up. I really don't. I'm just here for the people who want to be here each time, my faithful group that enjoy seeing this, and also my friends who are collectors who want to be exposed to something so they know what to get or help them complete something. So I'm not here for clicks or likes. So I don't care if I got a lot of views. I just didn't have enough material to make a decent video with just Apartment Girls. So I just figured I would throw it all into one and just take a look again at Sports Review for what it was. And I like Sports Review a lot. They did a good job. All right, boys. See you on the next. And girls, too.